Welcome,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for giving us your time. It's incredible, really, for all of us. We've come on a great journey together, and to have somebody like yourself here is just fantastic. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Tell us about your story. Can we start right at the
Tell us
beginning?
about what?
Your story. Tell us a little bit about how you got started, challenges, struggles, all the way to where you are today.
That's a 53-year-old long story. In the sake of time, because I want to get to all the questions, right? Grew up in New York, in Hollis, Queens. Lower middle class family. This new form of communication or disruptive technology named hip hop was really just starting. It was the ability of kids communicating through this music who couldn't play an instrument or didn't have to harmonize, but we didn't see what was going on in the streets on the 6 o'clock news. But through this music, they were talking about their loves, their dreams, their aspirations. It's kind of like our version today of social media, right? There's only way we were getting the information. And it came with a way to walk, talk, and even dress. We were supporting a lot of the designers because we were wearing them for breakdancing and other things, but they were taking our money and not having empathy, going, I don't like you, right? And I decided who's ever going to love and support and value the people that they sell to. So I came up with a name, For Us, By Us. A lot of people would think my name was about a color, but it was really about a culture, because I was always taught, never become the thing you're fighting against. And I was very inclusive, and I loved that aspect of it. But I didn't have any money, and how was I going to get this out there? Well, it really started, I never thought it was going to be a big business. I just wanted to satisfy a need, and that's what I'm almost sure every one of these entrepreneurs do. They see they see a pain point in somebody. In your world, it's a physical pain point, and nobody's addressing it, or you need to bring joy to somebody, right? So I stood on the corner, 1989, Good Friday, and I sold $800 worth of hats in 1 hour. And it was kind of like that first time you realize this is something you want to do. I was like, I made those hats with my own hands. It was my ability to show value to the customers. Some people, it was because the hat made their head warm, kept their head warm. Some because the hat matched their sneakers. The other because the hat looked like they were into hip hop and up to speed with what was fashionable. But I made that with my own hands. And I remember selling that $800 worth of hats in 1 hour and said, I will never work for anybody ever again for the rest of my life from this point on. I worked at Red Lobster for 5 years after that, but that's another story. Is there lemon in here?
I don't.
There's a bunch of fragments in there. I want to make sure it's lemon. I opened and closed FUBU 3 times from '89 to '92. But the business kept calling me back, because every time I would close it, people would say, I was missing you, or da-da-da. But I took affordable steps. And really, true entrepreneurs, the success stories are they take affordable steps. They act, they learn, and then they repeat. And then I use the power of broke all the time. I would take T-shirts, put them in videos, take them back, put in another video, take them back. These videos would air around the world. People thought I was a huge clothing company. I was just a guy working at Red Lobster with 10 stinking T-shirts in my basement. I used the power of broke. I would finally get a deal, a distribution deal, 98, 97, 98. By 99, I was doing about, an average about $400 million a year globally. Things started to change in 2001, 2002. I started to reinvent myself and say, what's my assets? What do I know? Well, being a designer is not something I know really well. Putting a big FUBU on a shirt is not being a designer. I knew how to market. I started to acquire other companies because my assets were, I had a supply chain. I knew how to get the stuff in the stores, but I didn't have another idea of a hot clothing brand. So I acquired other clothing brands, put it through my supply chain. Mark Burnett saw that I was investing in other clothing lines and other brands, and he pegged me for a show that I never thought would ever work, called Shark Tank. And I started in 07, 08, and I've been sitting next to those underachievers for 14 years. And now I'm here with you. Thank you. It's the truth. Thank you.
What was, I love the
I'm going to
story.
turn my seat. I don't like to have, be a little, there you go. No,
what was the, as I listened to that story, what was the inflection point for you where it was this thing, we went from $800 of sales in hats? What was it that you did? Was it a decision to hire? Was it a decision to invest that made it just go to 400 million in sales?
Well, remember that story goes from, 89 to 98. So it wasn't this like boom, right?
Yeah.
It was this love. It was, seeing somebody wear our clothing, and I would address people for the rest of my life for free if I could. But it was also the camaraderie of my partners, the camaraderie of the customers, and it was feeling like I finally had purpose. But it was also, I never thought it would be that big. We thought that maybe we'd have a boutique. But we still did something because we were absolutely obsessed with it. And we made a lot of mistakes, but that's what businesses do. They act, they learn, and then they repeat a little more wisely. But the story was very hard, and I wasn't fortunate enough to have a mastermind group where I can talk to other people, other leaders, and say, what are you going through? I didn't know anybody like that. There were no really large African-American inspired clothing brands at the time, and those other designers didn't even want to talk to us. So I was not fortunate enough, as the people in this room, to be able to say, I'm not alone. What are you going through? Where are you finding success? So it was very, very hard. I almost lost my mother's house. I almost went bankrupt 3 times because, as a business owner, you have this passion of solving a problem or bringing joy to somebody's life. But this is what you know. Now all of a sudden you get into a business, you go, I gotta know manufacturing, I gotta go to distribution, I know social media, I gotta go accounting, I gotta understand CFOs, I gotta understand retail contracts. You don't know all this, and it's something that you have to find a group of people to constantly do, because sooner or later you take your eye off of what you really started the business for if you're trying to solve all those problems. And the hardest point about being a business owner is you can't tell anybody that works for you your problems, but yet you have to be there to listen to their problems. And if you do tell them your problems, well, then they're going to leave. I mean, imagine going into the boss's office and they're going, it's over. What the hell? You're going to lose people. You have financial stress at your home because, you're putting everything on the line. You can't dictate the future. You don't know what's going on out there. You have mental issues going on. You can't find good workers because an A-type personality, well, they either owning their own business, right? And so you're dealing with so much pressure, and it's very, very hard.
So let me ask you, you mentioned the love. Is it the love?
I mean, am I wrong? You don't even pay yourself because you're so busy trying to reinvest in the business or paying the people that work for you. And by the way, I got to tell you something. It's the ones in your company that you want to fire that never quit. The good ones got another place to go. I'm sorry to lay all this burden on you. I have nobody else to talk to.
Is it about the love of the product and the clothes for you? Or was it the love of business?
It was not the love of business. It was love of the product. It was the love of a community. I would make something, and FUBU for us bias is kind of like we were making what we wanted to see, we wanted to wear. But I would make something. I had no idea how somebody would wear it. I had an idea how I would wear it. Then I would see them, and they would wear it a whole different way. I would say, "Wow, that's cool." Yeah. When you're a business owner and you're growing, and you're doing things, every day is like Christmas. You need to learn to love the maize, not the cheese. The maize is the most important part. You want to know that you left everything on the table or on the field, right? And that's what business owners are. I mean, real business owners, they thank everybody for their success. They blame only one person for their failure. They know that, when you're a success, success has many parents. A failure is an orphan. And you know that you're doing it for the right reasons because you want to create change or bring joy to somebody's life. And you hear no all the time. You will always hear no. I watched Obama and Mark Zuckerberg do an interview, and Zuckerberg said he still hears no. Mark Zuckerberg still hears no. He said, when I created this platform on Ivy League, for Ivy League kids, when they found out the kids in other colleges that weren't Ivy League were going to be on this platform, they said it'll never work. Then when they found out high school kids were going to be on the platform, it'll never work. Then when they found out a grandmother was going to be on the same platform the kid was on, well, who's going to be on the same platform? Well, Nana. It's never going to work. Oh, by the way, when laptops are now going down to cell phones and shrinking down, who's going to read their Facebook on a smartphone? Oh, by the way, people in China or in Asia, they're never going to have it. He said, I kept hearing no, but I kept building it because I thought somebody else was going to build this and nobody else did.
Who tells you no?
My wife. Is she here?